Good afternoon, beautiful listeners, and welcome to yet another episode on Random Talk with NG. I remain your host, Ngozi Obiefuna, and I am really excited about today's topic. Today, we're diving into a topic that we all experience at some point, which is change. It's commonly said that change is inevitable and it often takes us out of our comfort zones, but it can also lead to personal growth and new beginnings. So, for us to explore this topic today, I have an amazing friend and sister in the person of Nelo, who is going to be talking about adapting to change, adjusting change, the challenges that come with it, and how we can learn to embrace it. So, welcome, a big welcome to you, Nelo. Welcome to Random Talk with NG.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Hi, everyone. My name is Nelo. I'm so happy to be here. But before we proceed, I'd like to apologize for my voice because I have a bit of a cold, so I may sound a bit off, but I'm definitely very happy to be here. And as Marianne introduced me, I'm a friend and a sister, and she's my sister and friend as well.
I'm so excited that you're here because you have been one of my pillars of support. When I talk about
Aww.
support system, you are one of the people that I have in my life, and I'm proud to call one of my sisters and a very great pillar of support. Always reposting my content, even when I was on break. You were just trying to make sure that, oh, I hope you've not forgotten that you have a podcast. Keep up with. And I just want to use this medium to say thank you. Thank you very much. We may not be close physically, but I mean, thank you for keeping up with the relationship and the bond. And I am blessed to have you. I am blessed to know you.
Oh
And
my
I truly
goodness.
love you.
I love you too. You're making me blush so bad. Thank you so much. And
You're
actually,
welcome.
it's my pleasure because your podcast, as everyone should know already, is gold. So everyone should be listening to your podcast because it's amazing. So I'm just doing the Lord's work anyway. But yeah.
It's my turn to blush. Thank you. Thank you very much for your kind words. So we'll just start from the beginning, right? So I just want to ask, how would you define change? When you think of the word change, what comes to mind?
So without, you know, restricting myself to a dictionary definition, when you say change, what comes to my mind is leaving your comfort zone. And that could be in terms of an environment, a career, a relationship, a situation. So just leaving your comfort zone, because for change to happen, you have to be uncomfortable, kind of. Some changes are like good, but for the most part, and in my experience, what I would describe as change is like leaving your comfort zone and just going out there, being a different space. So that's what comes to mind when you say change.
Totally spot on. And I'm also going to add that it's just like stepping out of what feels normal
Yeah,
for us.
yeah,
So it's all the whole leaving the comfort zone
yeah,
thing. So I totally agree with
yeah.
you. But why do you think so many people resist change? Do you think it's fear or do you think it's something deeper?
No, I definitely think it's fear, like the fear of the unknown, uncertainty. And I'm going to speak for myself as an example. For the
Okay.
most part, I like to know what's coming my way. Like, I know as humans, we're not totally in control of our situations, but I like to know. So if I'm being put in a situation where I'm just going in blindly, there's so much uncertainty. I don't know what's going to happen. There's a level of fear that comes with that. So I would say mostly, and based on conversations I've had with people as well, conversations I've had with my friends, it's mostly fear, just the fear of what's going to happen, being uncertain. So I think that's what makes, for the most part, that's what makes change, sorry, uncomfortable. Just that fear of what's going to happen next. Do you get what I mean?
Hmm. Yeah, I totally get you. I totally get you. And I agree that fear plays a very big part of it because I also think that we're creatures of habit.
Yeah,
And so
exactly.
there's this certain comfort with us being familiar with that situation, that person, that
Yeah,
environment, that job.
yeah,
Even if it's not perfect, the thought of, oh, do I have to go and start
yeah,
afresh? I'm sure it's something that we'll explore down the line.
yeah,
So let's just talk about our personal experiences with change.
yeah.
Have you a big change that has really challenged you?
Yes, definitely. Like, definitely, I feel like I've had so many instances in my life that has been very challenging in terms of change. But I think the most challenging aspect for me would be in terms of relationships. So I
Mm,
am how I don't know the word for this, but like I get very comfortable with places, with people, and it just becomes home for me. And there are
yeah,
times when you're in certain relationships and it's not necessarily going bad. It's not like the person you're in a relation, and I don't mean relationship in the romantic sense now. I'm talking more of
yeah,
friendships, and
yes,
this person is not necessarily a bad person or hasn't done something bad to you, but like people just evolve and situations change,
yeah,
and then you find that you're drifting, and the way you have to relate to that person becomes different. And I've found that that's something that I really struggle with, like the aspect of letting go and learning how to interact with this person based on the new relationship that we have. I tend to want to be stuck on the old ways of how we would usually interact, and it comes with a lot of discomfort and sometimes pain, so that's for me. Change in relationship has been like the change that I have struggled the most with, if that makes sense. And then
yes.
obviously other aspects like changing jobs, that was quite challenging.
Mm-hmm.
And changing environments
Very.
as well, because I recently moved to a new city, a new country, and just learning how to find my new normal. It's very, sometimes it can be exciting, but it's also very scary, because like I said, I get very sentimental, so I'm very attached to things. I can even call myself a hoarder. If you come to my house, you find things that I probably don't need, but I'm just holding on to them because they have sentimental value to me. So
Values.
it's very difficult for me to let go. So change is something that I, as a person, I totally struggle with, because, just because of my nature and the kind of person that I am.
I can relate with some of the points you've made because, well, me, I've not changed countries yet, so I cannot even imagine the how majorly challenging it was for you. But with regards to career shift, I had a career shift a couple of years ago, and it was a struggle. At every step of the way, I kept asking myself, am I actually making the right choice? Then recently, I experienced this change, same job but different units, as you would know, and it was a bit challenging because that was where the talk about your point on relationships actually came into play. I actually
Yeah.
listened through and I could relate because it just felt like I was starting afresh. I built
Yeah.
I built solid relationships for like like 5 6 years, and then I am coming to this place and it just feels like you're a newcomer. You don't know
Yeah.
who to be wary of. You don't even know who to relate with on a professional level. You don't know who to relate with on a more professional level. I actually
Yeah.
get the whole thing, the whole personal experience about change, and it
Yeah.
can be very overwhelming at first. And
Yeah.
I just want to ask, were there any techniques or habits you leaned on to help you get through with this change? Was there something you did that helped?
Yes. Yes, definitely. So, like I said, it's kind of hard for me to let go. And I realized that I was getting hurt a lot. And, because change is inevitable, you have to eventually move out of your comfort zone, except if you do not want to achieve your dreams, because change is necessary for achieving your dreams or like progressing or like moving to the next level. You definitely cannot be resistant to change. So, yeah, in terms of what I did to help me um accept change, because like I said, it's something that I really struggled with, especially in terms of my relationships and learning what the new normal is. I struggled with that, and change is something that you cannot avoid. It's something that is inevitable. Like, even if you don't want to change, your circumstances sometimes will force you to change, and you have to be okay with that. So the first thing I did was just having a conversation with myself, telling myself that I have to learn to accept change. And this is specifically relating to the relationship change that I spoke about earlier. And so it started with my mind. I had to like give myself some pep talks, just tell myself it's okay, that it's okay to feel the way I feel, but it has just gotten to the point where I have to let go, and not letting go in a malicious manner. It's not like this person is no longer my friend. It's just we have a new normal and I need to accept that. So it starts with the mind. And then it also, one thing that I found that is very helpful is just taking things one day at a time. Because another thing that I would do, which was quite detrimental, was I would always focus on the future. I wasn't focused on the now. I was focused on, oh, in the future, how is this going to play out? But I was totally ignoring the present. So I found that, taking things one day at a time really helps, just dealing with situations as they come. And I would also, move that to like changing countries, for instance. At the first few months, few weeks, I would say few months, actually it takes a lot to settle in. You'd be confused. There's so much you have to do, there's so much you have to learn. There's the homesickness, there's missing your family, there's missing your friends. Like, there's so much to deal with. And if you allow all of those feelings overwhelm you, then it would affect how you function. So what I've also learned, like applying, just taking one day at a time has really helped. Like, just learning how to do things, focusing on one thing at a time, because you find that, okay, for instance, you need to get a new bank account. At the same time, you need to register your address. At the same time, you need to do 1,001 things. But like, just prioritizing the things that are important now and focusing on those and dealing with those as they come. So I think that is something that also has helped me a lot. Like, just um focusing on the present, if that makes sense. Just not allowing yourself to be overwhelmed by the future uncertainties. Because if you remember, one of the reasons why change is so scary is because you're scared of what is going to happen. And then if you keep focusing on the future, and the it's something that you don't even have any control over, it's just pointless. So just take things as they come. So I think that's what helped me. So just improving your mindset, telling yourself it's going to be okay eventually. And yeah.
Very, very spot on. As you were talking about, being in the present and not worrying so much and being and not dwelling so much on the future, it made me remember. I was just looking at a particular frame that my brother had customized and sent to me, and it is what is written there is carpe diem. It's a Latin phrase meaning seize the day, and it's used to encourage someone to, make the most of the present, rather than dwelling so much on the future that you forget to take one step or a day at a time. So yes, I can imagine, because when I sit and think about my life sometimes, I know how very resistant to change I can be. So I mean, even changing units too was a bit of a struggle for me. And I also agree with the fact that friendships and relationships evolve, and there's every possibility that the fact that you were really close with someone 20 years ago or 10 years ago does not necessarily mean that the closeness would remain, because different factors and circumstances play out over the years, and so some kind of changes would come. So let's just talk about adapting and adjusting in a healthy way, because for some people, because of the change that happens to them, they find themselves, using negative coping mechanisms. So I'm just going to ask, if I mean, once you're past the initial stage, how do you start adapting and really adjusting? Do you have a routine or a strategy, apart from the pep talk, the self talk you give yourself? Is there like a routine or, strategy for, adapting to change that you have to
Yeah,
share?
okay. So I think a very good example I'll give is relocating or changing countries. So I
Okay.
struggled a lot because I miss being around my friends, I miss being around my family, I miss being around my mom. It might sound very petty, but it's just I miss
So
eating good food. I'm not saying, well, actually, the food here is not great. I'm just going to be honest about that. But yeah, I just miss the convenience of just driving to a store, getting what you need, not having to get on a tube or a train with like so many people, just the ease and the life, gosh, I miss home so much. I'm not even going to lie. So it's something that I struggle with and I am still struggling with. But one thing that would help you, especially if, for instance, you're trying to relocate or trying to change jobs, for instance, or if you're trying to change anything, is looking for little things that you love and getting yourself involved. Like, for instance, it could be finding a local church if if you're a Christian, and joining a community, because that will give you something to look forward to. It could be going out for dinner dates, and that's something that I do personally. So I love to go out to eat, to explore new food, and whenever I have a date coming up, is something that keeps me excited, it keeps me going. So it gives me some level of ginger to cope. And then finding a community as well is very important. And that is difficult, but like I said, you could try maybe finding community in a local church or a local activity. Like if you're into sports, or if you're into music, or if you're into art or anything like that, you could find something around, because obviously there will be a lot of options that you could get involved with. Like just having a community, finding something you love, having a routine. Like for instance, you could get into or finding a new hobby as well. Like you could decide that you want to start working out, or you could find a sport that is maybe only available in the country that you've moved into, or something that you were not previously opportune to participate in, but now you have the opportunity to do that. So just finding the little things and trying to love those things, because one of the things one of the reasons why you are uncomfortable with change is because you are leaving the things that you love. So if you're able to develop new things that you love or new things that you're interested in, then it would sort of make the process easier. So that's in terms of like changing jobs, changing environment, or making any big change. But in terms of like relationships evolving, for that, I wouldn't really say. I think it just is very based on acceptance. You just have to come to a point where you accept that this is the new normal and you have to deal with it. So, I wouldn't say, yeah, you could try making new friends, but I mean, I'm not a strong I'm not I'm not a strong advocate of just jumping into relationships, and people can be crazy. So so you have to be careful. You can't just, and it's not even really advisable to just make new friends because you're trying to get over someone or you're trying to deal with something. I don't think that's fair on you or the new friend that you have. So for that, unfortunately or fortunately, the only um the only solution that I can think of. But then, if you've had such experience, you could also maybe give some tips as well. But for me, I would say you just have to come to a point where you accept that this is the new normal and just take it from there.
Yeah, yeah, I can totally resonate with the tips that you've shared for adjusting, the routine and the strategy. Because if it's in the case of changing careers, changing units, it's more, try to set specific timelines for learning, reflecting. And then I also agree that you should not just jump into friendships for the sake of trying to
Yeah,
forget or trying to adjust to your new
yeah,
normal. Breaking down your goals or any routine, new hobbies or habits you want to build makes it so much more
yeah,
manageable, right? Because but above all, I think the key thing is for you to be
yeah,
positive and
yeah,
motivated. And a very good way to do that would be by practicing gratitude,
yeah,
because gratitude is something that really helps me a
yeah,
whole lot. Because when I start worrying about, I miss people. I mean, I even getting my job a couple of years ago, I had to move away from the house, and it was a major shift for me
yeah,
as well. And then most times I found myself going home every weekend because I
yeah,
missed home. But I had to find, a local community, a church. I had to join a group that I could, resonate with, a group that I loved, something I loved doing
yeah,
back home. And then above all, practicing
yeah,
gratitude has really helped me, because even if things are tough, I try to focus on the good that can come from
yeah,
the change, because it helps me to stay hopeful, it keeps me moving forward. And then while I am thinking about the next major change that would possibly happen in my life in a couple of years, months or years from now, I am just going to focus on being really grateful and practicing gratitude all the way, because I think that's something that would help to keep me
yeah,
going,
yeah,
right?
yeah,
So that's
definitely,
my own view.
definitely. And that gratitude is such an important point. Like, it's such an important point because, for instance, sometimes um I go for maybe very short walks and I see really nice places. Maybe I'm walking and I pass by a park or I see something really beautiful and I'm like, oh, despite how homesick I feel and despite how much I miss being around my friends, I can appreciate the fact that I'm here and I can see this beautiful scenery and I'm exposed to the possibility of exploring new cultures and meeting new people. Because another thing that I'm very grateful for is the fact that my friendships have diversified. So I have friends from different parts of the world now, and I'm really grateful for that because it just really opens your mind and your heart to how different people are, and it makes you more accepting, you're more tolerant, it just broadens your horizon really. So yes, gratitude is very important, and it's something that I have personally improved on, and it has made my life so much better in terms of like being worried, being anxious, just taking a step back and appreciating where you are, because the truth is you would never really be where you want to be at every point in time. Like, even if you're at the highest point of your life, always something that we as humans aspire for. There's always the next big thing, right? But you need to just take a step back and be grateful for where you are. And that is like a total game changer. It has changed my life so much. I'm so much more at peace. I worry less. So just being grateful is very important. You made like a very, very, very significant point in terms of the gratitude. Yeah, I totally relate to that. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, people are encouraged, our listeners are encouraged to actually practice gratitude every step of the way because it will actually
Yeah.
keep you going.
Yeah.
Sometimes you feel as though you have not achieved anything in life, but then by the time you sit back and you reflect and think about it, you would see that there is always something to be grateful for.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, uh, it's something that I love. So I love that. And just to wrap things up, what advice would you give to our listeners who might be going through a big change right now?
So if you're going through a big change right now, just know that it is, I mean, if it's something that you decided to change, that means it's good for you. So it means that the outcome is going to work in your favor. And like I said earlier in the podcast, change is inevitable. You really cannot progress. In fact, growth is change because you're moving from where you used to be to the next level. So it's really something that you cannot avoid, except if you're like
Mm.
undergoing a bad change, like maybe you were previously in a healthy relationship and you decide to change to a toxic relationship, then this is not for you. That is a bad change. You need to stop and go back. In this case, change is not good. But like if I'm talking about positive changes like growth in your careers, or moving places, or I don't know why we are even so stuck on career and the environment. There's like 1,001 things that could change in your life, right? If you're going, if you're going through any major change at all, just know that it's good for you and eventually to work out for you. So be open minded, allow yourself some grace. Don't be hard on yourself. If you find that you're struggling, it's fine. Everybody struggles. For the first few months, the first few years, even as long as it takes for you to get comfortable, is fine. Do not compare your timeline to someone else's. If you're struggling, it's fine. Accept it, accept the fact that you're struggling and try to find ways to cope. Try to find things that you love. Try to make relationships that will help you. Try to find good people that will motivate you. Listen to this podcast. Listen to other
Oh,
podcasts that talks about change.
oh
Just look for things you can read. I'm sure there are loads of books. I'm sorry, I'm not really a self-help. I'm trying to get into self-help books, but naturally I'm like a fiction girl. So I wish there were books I could recommend on accepting change and stuff like that. But I mean, I'll get there because it's something that I'm actually working towards. So yeah, read books, watch movies, watch documentaries, just do things that will help you. And most importantly, be patient with yourself. Don't try to rush things. Take things one day at a time. Don't allow yourself to get overwhelmed by the uncertainty of the change. It's uncertain, but if you are able to focus on one task, one block, just focus on one thing at a time, you'll find that it will just be one of those situations where you look back maybe years from now and you're like, wow, look at where I am today. I didn't actually believe I would be here, but how did I get here? So just be graceful to yourself and find things you love. Take it one step at a time. And yeah, you'll be fine eventually because it's a good thing and it's going to turn your life around and you'll be better off for it.
Hmm. You have said it all. Yes, that in summary, we should actually be kind to ourselves because change is not easy, but
Yeah,
it's
it's not.
often worth it in the end.
Yeah,
Yeah. So we're going to take it one day at a time. And we also need to remember that we don't have to have it all figured out immediately.
yeah,
So it's and then beautifully said, it's a journey and we're all learning along the way. No one has it all figured out. We're
yeah,
all just trying to navigate through this thing called life because
yeah,
I mean we've not been here before unless you've
yeah,
possibly reincarnated as someone else from another planet or as a plant or something. But
yeah,
then it's we're all just learning along the way.
yeah.
So thank you so much, Nello, for joining me and sharing your thoughts on change. As I listened to you, I kept thinking to myself that you have to stop being resistant to change. I was just talking to myself, you need to take that bold step. You need to take that bold step and do what
Yeah,
needs to be done
yeah,
because change is inevitable. I mean,
yeah.
even in our country, Nigeria, the change that keeps happening to us every minute, every hour is something that we cannot even explain.
But
We
I
can't
feel
even
like
explain it.
Nigerians in that aspect, they are very adaptive because we are very
Yes, yes.
adaptive. We just go with the flow, we go with the change, and we're like having fun and sending memes and making memes. So,
No, it's not fun again. No, it's not fun again at all. Let's not even lie to ourselves. But yes, you're not the first person to have said that to me this week. I also had a couple of colleagues while we're discussing earlier in the office on Tuesday, last week. They kept saying that we Nigerians, anything that just hits us, we just say,
like, we're
it is
down.
well. It is well, we'll be
We've
fine, and
seen it.
then everyone
Yeah.
just ends it with God help us or it is well, and then we move on. So yes, we can adapt to change in Nigeria, but once we step outside the shores of Nigeria, the whole game plan changes and then we start struggling with the real change. So
Yeah.
thank you so much, Nello, and also thanks to everyone for tuning in. Change is challenging, but hopefully today's conversation with Nello has given us some new perspectives on how to handle it. And
Yeah.
until next time, this is Random Talk with NG with Ngozi Obiefna.